Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Yoga of Kindness podcast, or YoKpod for short. Today I am talking with Don Minter, an assisted living consultant for Senior Care Authority. Don and his wife Elaine are advocates for our senior community here in Kansas and are advisors for Johnson, Douglas, Shawnee, Wyandotte, Leavenworth, Miami, and Franklin counties. We will start off our conversation with Don's story of caring for his own father who lived with Alzheimer's and how this led to a path of senior advocacy. Don also offers useful information about the levels of care in what he calls senior communities and shares what he can offer families through his work as a consultant.
Hey, Mary.
Hi, Don. How's it going?
Doing well.
I'm so glad. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with us today. And I'm so lucky that I already kind of know you and Elaine a little bit. But if you don't mind, for all the others listening, I want to start by asking you a few personal questions. Nothing too personal. But wondering, did you grow up in Kansas? And can you just give us a little bit of a background on who is Don?
Yeah. Well, I've been in Kansas probably 98% of my life. Went to Shawnee Mission South High School here in Overland Park, graduated in 78, went on to college at Baker University and graduated with a bachelor's in biology in 1982. Thinking I wanted to be a marine biologist. That didn't quite materialize. So, as so many times it doesn't, but at least I had that. Yeah, well, I wanted to be in Florida and be a beach bum, basically, is what it boiled down to.
Oh, yeah, I know how that goes.
But ended up getting into the restaurant business early in phases in 1983 with Pizza Inn, and then ran casual dining concepts such as Cracker Barrels, Red Lobsters, Bennigan's for about 25 years.
Wow.
So restaurant business and food business is my background, and I was a troubleshooter for Red Lobster, so I spent a lot of time in smaller cities like Hutchinson, Kansas, Salina, and then Topeka. I ran the Red Lobsters there for years. So it was kind of a interesting gambit on how things turned out. When I was running the Red Lobster in Topeka, my father had developed some issues. He was living in Clinton, Missouri, and he actually got in a car accident and had 90 stitches in his head at 80 years of age.
Wow. And
I was running a Red Lobster, working 70, 80 hours a week, and thinking, man, I got to get closer to him. I got to figure this out. And we went through all of that, and he was in rehab in the hospital, and his wife actually gave away his dog and all of his tools while he was in the hospital. So I went down to Clinton, Missouri, and we divorced her. Said, yeah, we did. And so I got him closer to me eventually, and I took the job at Brandon. After the years in the restaurant business, I was kind of getting tired of the rigmarole and the 2 a.m. mornings, kicking people out of the bar and that kind of stuff. So went to work for Brandon Woods at Albemarle in Lawrence, Kansas, which is a continuing care retirement community. So they had all levels of care from assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing as well. So my objective there was to see if I could get him to move in there, and then I could keep an eye on him, and I could still keep my job in Lawrence and
Makes
all
sense.
of this. So, yeah, didn't quite materialize because it was not a Medicaid facility. So, excuse me, I'm gonna backtrack. Facility is a word I'm not going to use today.
Okay.
We call these senior living, whether it's memory care, assisted living, independent, we're going to call them communities. So.
Okay.
Because the facility gets a bad rap on, like a nursing home type situations. And, what we do is not, we do work with skilled nursing communities, and we never use the nursing home words. But anyway, so that didn't quite work out, but I've still managed to get him closer to me. We got him, he still remained independent for a few years, but Alzheimer's ended up taking over. So I was, it was a very tough situation being I was the only child and trying to navigate all of the systems and where I could take him. And he was a smoker, so who would accept smokers and that kind of thing. And so I wish I would have had somebody like what we do, back then. But prompted me to get into this business, along with working at Brandon Woods and developing love for the seniors and, naming menu items after them, and just had a great time with the families and the seniors themselves. So a combination of the two was why we got into this business. Almost 3 years ago in August, I quit my full-time gig, and now we own Senior Care Authority here in the Kansas City area.
Beautiful. And did your dad pass a few years ago, or I'm sorry, I don't remember?
He passed in, it's been almost 9 years now. I was with Brandon Woods for 13 years. So he had passed, from Alzheimer's, about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But, he did make it to 92 and lived a long, good life. And, you as well as I know how devastating and debilitating that disease is. And that's just prompted us to do what we do now.
Yeah. So where did he end up, like at the end? What community was he in?
He was at Wellsville Manor in Wellsville, Kansas.
Okay.
And they had a very good reputation, and they, I did call around, and they accepted smoking, and they accepted Medicaid, which, there's lots of different ways to pay for long-term care, but when it gets to that skilled nursing realm, it's, Medicaid is usually the answer, and we partner with elder law attorneys and a lot of different resources, VA specialists that can help apply for those type of situations to where it's possible for them to stay in long-term care and get the care they need and not come out of pocket.
That's amazing.
But we also deal with the memory care, assisted living, and independent living, which is usually a private pay scenario. However, there are some assisted living communities that do accept what we call an HCBS waiver, home community-based service waiver, to where if you go in with private pay for a year or two, you can stay in an assisted living type apartment, which is you can still come and go as you please, take part in the activities, great meals and that kind of thing. So, we've educated ourselves. We've built relationships with all of the area communities in Johnson County and the Kansas City Metro, and as well as Topeka and Lawrence, since that's where I got my start with senior living, was in Lawrence, Kansas.
Wow. And can I ask you, before we dive into your business a little bit more, like what was it like for your dad going through Alzheimer's? Did he go through different stages, like the anger stage? I don't want to generalize this, but I've talked to many people about it. Or was he pretty happy all the way through? Or
he was, and everybody's different. I mean, there's so many different phases of this disease. Early, mid, late. In the early stages, of course, your short-term memory is the first thing that starts to deteriorate. So many folks with Alzheimer's have, short-term memory and that's kind of measured whether, can you ask them what we talked about 10 minutes ago? If they can remember that, then that, it's somewhat okay. But if they start, they can't remember what was said 10 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago, then that's those beginning stages. But he was never combative. He never got into that behavior scenario, which, we come across that all the time. It just hits different people different ways. The sundowners issue, he didn't have that, to where, folks want to go home at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night when the sun starts going down. They start packing their bags, and, it's when it becomes a safety issue, to where, if they leave the home, they don't know how to get back. Even if they're still driving, then that becomes a real issue for safety. So it's all about safety, and we're all about trying to promote staying at home as long as you possibly can. But there gets a point to where that cannot be fielded at home, and sometimes the communities are the best answer for that. But we do partner with home care agencies. The home health is covered by Medicare, where people coming in from, and that's a big misconception out there, the difference between home health and home care. A lot of people think it's the same thing, but it's not. Home health is where the doctor orders some physical therapy or occupational therapy, and you have a therapist come in a couple times a week for an hour, and they're help people get stronger, whether it's in the home or whether it's in a community or wherever it might be. And then home care and home health is covered under Medicare. So home care is more private duty, hourly rates between $18 to $25 an hour, depending on how much time is being spent. The more hours with these companies, the less rate usually, and they help with activities of daily living. I'm going to try not to get too heavy in my acronyms, ADLs. People, what's that? ADLs. So that means activity. Or CCRC. What is that? But activities of daily living, where they can help with, toileting and food service, medication management, mobility. And those are all private pay scenarios where they charge an hourly rate. So, we partner with folks like that also, as well as elder law attorneys and home or downsizing folks and real estate and all that. So, we kind of we're a hub. I'm kind of explaining our business as we go here. So,
no, that's great.
Anyway,
and that was going to be my next question to you. Like, I've looked at your website, but if you were to tell someone who has no clue about what you offer, like, could you say that in 5 minutes, or is it too expansive what you offer?
It's not. We've practiced elevator speeches, and we do a lot of presentations with other groups, and people don't want a long, drawn-out explanation. So, in a nutshell, we call ourselves elder care strategists. That devise the best next steps for your loved one, wherever they're at in their journey. So that could be, and they're 55 and they're getting tired of taking care of their home and, doing the lawn and all of that stuff. So we have relationships with independent living communities, with supportive services. Maybe they don't want to cook anymore. Or, maybe mom and dad are losing weight because they're just not eating right, and they're not making the effort to make the meals and do. And even though mom was a great cook back in the day, she doesn't really have the desire to do it anymore. Independent living communities with supportive services is a great option because they usually have a couple meals a day. They have transportation services to where they go to outings, whether it's an arboretum or museums. They got hydration throughout the day. As we know, or you may or may not know, UTIs. The biggest thing we see were, and the biggest thing, we talk about, educating, the adult kids and the seniors about, it's not like, don't wait too long, start exploring these options now, have a plan, because there will come a time where you don't want to do any of those things anymore. And then, and we've done the research in all the independent living communities or assisted and memory care and find out the best fit. So we do our assessments. Used to be love to do them in person, but obviously with the COVID, we generally do them on the phone, where we, have an interview with whether it's adult kids or the seniors themselves, and find out exactly what they enjoy doing, where they're at on their activities of daily living, what they need help with, and then we fit them best with the appropriate communities in their area. So demographics are important. Just had a case come up yesterday where, one of the siblings lived at 199th and 150th and Knoll, and the other sibling lived in Brookside. And they wanted to have something right in between. So, we do all that research and find out exactly the best fits, and we qualify them financially, so we're not wasting anybody's time. So, we get the medical records taken care of clinically, and so we figure out the clinical and financial aspects of each client, what the best fits are.
Beautiful. When would you suggest family members start looking into something like this, or start contacting you? Is there a time frame where it typically takes to get into assisted living facilities?
Yeah, that's a great question. We always tell the adult kids, start looking for the warning signs in the home. So, if you're looking at their pots and pans and you're noticing scorched pans. If you're noticing dents in the car, take a drive with your loved one at some point, see if they're using their signals or seat belts. There's a lot of ways to, kind of start thinking there may be some decline or that kind of a situation. And then, safety things around the house. Again, there's a lot of, grab bars and, I always recommend modifications in the home to keep it as safe as possible, especially in the bathroom. Besides the UTIs, which, a lot of time is due to not staying hydrated. Some people just don't like to drink water. And while I'm talking about that, I had a client at one point that just couldn't stand to drink just plain water. And she was in a rehab situation at an area community. And, me being an ex-food and beverage director, I don't think I ever told what my title was at Brandon Woods, but I was a food and beverage director. That, in charge of 280 residents.
Wow.
And all the levels. So, I put a lot of key people in place to make sure they're given the best care and the best food possible. We actually started the resident directed care at that community by developing a full-blown menu where, there's not just 2 choices available, which some communities still just do a feature item, but we had 80 items available.
Wow.
So I hired these guys and I go, what can you effectively serve, every lunch and dinner? What kind of a menu can you come up with? So I put my staff in charge. I had a really sharp guy that, I had eventually groomed him to take my spot. And I know I'm getting off track here a little bit.
No problem. It's really interesting.
Anyway,
how
with my
beautiful
background,
for the seniors.
Yeah, with my background, I asked that community where she wasn't drinking water, so why don't you put fruit in the water? Put some oranges or lemons or limes or watermelon. And they go, they kind of go, well, how do I do that? And I said, really? Okay. Okay. You take a knife, cut the orange into slices, and you throw it in the water. And yes, you have to change it out every couple hours. But that's a great idea. So, and that lady hadn't had any UTIs to my knowledge since, because they found a solution. So, and these communities do a really good job of trying to find solutions to take care of their residents. But slips and falls is where I was going with that. Slips and falls and UTIs are the 2 biggest reasons folks end up in the hospital. And those end up changing that equation dramatically. So if you're seeing safety issues in the home to where, mom or dad is a fall risk, or any safety issues that they might be in danger, that's the time to start looking before the bad things happen, because the bad things will happen at some point. And then, if it develops into a hospital stay and develops into more of a skilled nursing need rather than an assisted living need, the skilled nursing is more of a medical model, even though they've came a long way, and there's some wonderful skilled nursing communities out there. So I don't want to make it sound like it's a medical model and nursing carts and just feels like a hospital, because they don't. They've came a long way. But an assisted living apartment is more like, an apartment in whether Indian Creek Village at 103rd Metcalf or whatever the case might be. They're more nice, and they have those amenities where it's not a hospital bed, which most skilled nursings do have.
When did that start to shift? When did it change from like nursing home, you imagine these horrible places, to something that's more enjoyable to be in? Was there a shift?
Yeah, well, there was. Generations have the shift. Let's say my mom or dad would, oh, you're never going to put me in a nursing home. That'd be horrible. I don't want to go to a nursing home. So that shift is generational. It's just a mindset.
I see.
So our generation, I'm the baby boomer generation. I know that, there are some very nice communities out there that do skilled nursing, and it's a need. What differentiates, let's talk about that for a few minutes, if you don't mind. What differentiates skilled needs from, so let's start at the top. Independent living, come and go as you please. You're basically doing the same things you did it in your own home, but you may not have to have the maintenance. You don't have to do any yard work. You got meals provided, you got transportation, you got a great social avenue where people can get together and, play bridge, all the things that they love to do, or go to a happy hour. They got entertainment all the time. So, independent living, come and go as you please. It's just what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some 55 plus independent living communities that they don't have those services, that, they offer some socialization. There may not be any meals, that kind of their transportation. But again, that's what we know. We know all the area communities, what they can do and what they do best. So, depending on what's important to that senior, maybe they like outdoor spaces. They like to walk. So we know all where the trailheads are and where the communities are by the trailheads, and if they have walking clubs and that kind of thing. So that's independent living. So assisted living is the next level, where it's still, you come and go as you please. You're still independent. A lot of folks go into assisted living just because, it may migrate to that someday, and then they're going to have those services if they need it. Mm-hmm. So they're going to get help. They're going to get help with mobilization if they need it, or dressing, or bathing. Medication management is usually taken care of. And it's a big burden off of the family not to have to manage, medications. I remember hiring somebody for my dad to manage his meds, and to buy his groceries and that kind of thing. And that worked out for a while, mm-hmm. Until, if they were there watching him take his meds when he was supposed to take them with food and whatever. But right. That got off track at one point where he wasn't safe doing that. But, assisted living is, I promoted just like independent, but you got those additional services if you need. Assisted living, you generally have the 3 hot meals a day. You got a hot breakfast. Whereas in independent living, you may or may not have a hot breakfast. You may have like a continental breakfast. But in assisted living, you get 3 hot meals a day with, if you want poached eggs, you can get them. If you want an omelet, eggs to order, pancakes, waffles. And all the food programs are different. And I've also done some consulting of food programs out there trying to help with that. Mm-hmm. I was lucky where I was. I had an unlimited budget, and they said, "Don, just do your thing."
Wow.
And we put those the point of sale systems. Since casual dining was my background, so we put all these, all the POS. I call them point of sale terminals, like you have in an Applebee's or a Red Lobster or a Cracker Barrel, where the servers enter their orders in. They've got all the menu choices there, and it pipes back to the kitchen, and the food is up quickly. So yeah, that it was a great time. It was hard for me to leave that because it was so successful, but I figured it was time to leave when I was at the top of my game, rather than getting burned out with 110 employees and I'm sick today. But
no, it's important what you do now. So I'm glad you took that jump, that leap.
Yeah. So now I'm accountable to myself and my wife, and Elaine is a big part of this picture as well. She is a full-time pharmacist. She works for the specialty team at CVS, but she is very supportive in what I do, and I'm very fortunate to have her to be able for me to do this and to be an advocate and take care of our region seniors. Anyway, so assisted living, then you got memory care. So the big thing that differentiates assisted living from memory care is we call it a flight risk issue or a wander issue, meaning are they going to want to go out the front door and not know how to get back? So assisted living is not equipped staffing-wise for that type of scenario. So once that begins, then a memory care community is needed.
Okay.
And memory care can take a lot higher acuity because in the advanced stages of dementia, and there's a lot of different types of dementia. I won't go into all of that. Alzheimer's is the most popular, but there's frontal temporal, Parkinson's, Lewy body, and they all got their different symptoms that differentiate one from the other. That wander factor, and in advanced stages of Alzheimer's or dementia, people forget how to swallow. Mm-hmm. So they may be in great physical shape. And believe me, we've come across clients, that are 70, 71 years old. We've had some in the 60s, some in the late 50s that have developed this disease, physically in great shape. but they just want to go home, and they want to pack and they want to get outside and then become a danger to themselves, and it's a big safety risk at that time.
For sure.
So that's what differentiates memory care from assisted living.
Okay.
And then the skilled needs. Memory care some of the memory cares can handle special diets, whether it's pureed or mechanical soft, and some can't. But most of them can, because it's more advanced. They have thickened liquids to be able to kind of help with that swallowing issue. But and the communities really do try to tout aging in place, and that's a big thing that we look at when we're placing our clients. Hopefully we don't want to have to moving anyway is a really taxing situation,
for sure,
especially coming from home.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have them move again in a year or 2 years. Sometimes medical things happen where it's not possible, and there's always going to be that possibility of another situation, such as skilled nursing, which usually means trach tubes, feeding tubes, any kind of a skilled need such as that. Most assisted living memory cares, some of them can, but some of them can't. So if it gets to that point, generally they need to go to a skilled nursing community.
Well, thank you for telling us about the different types of communities. Important to understand, and a lot of people don't know that. I run across a lot of older adults who don't know, so thank you for that.
We do consultations, if anybody, how we offer placement assistance for independent living, assisted living, and memory care for private pay scenarios at no cost to our clients. So we do all that research. We do the tours. Again, they used to be in person. COVID, some of the protocols have relaxed a little bit.
Have they? That was another question I wanted to ask you, like how you're doing that now, and our assisted communities, like, are you able to come in? I have heard not, and I just talked to someone yesterday who was telling me that they're still being very careful, and for good reasons, I think.
For good reasons. So the protocols are currently that, there's still no outside visitors allowed in, which has been really hard on the seniors and their families.
Right.
Obviously we've had a lot of folks that we've been dealing with prior to this. And then when this started, no, we're going to stay at home. We don't want to do anything because we're not going to be able to see my mom and dad at all, except if I'm on a patio or if I'm, Zoom meetings and that kind of thing. And I get it. And unless it's an emergency situation, fortunately, a lot of the situations that we were working with are not emergency situations. So they decided to quarantine at home and, not move into a community at that time, which I totally get. So currently, and I don't know, I heard one community yesterday, and I don't know, that started to allowing a tour one person at a time type situation. So the way we operate, we have usually, we go pick up our clients and, take them to the communities. We guide the tour. I kind of there as a sounding board, let the marketers do their job, and I keep them sharp. If they miss something, I'll kind of mention it and kind of, and we do keep those communities sharp. We're kind of we are advocates for our seniors. We want the best for them. And once we move someone into a certain community, we're advocates for life. So whatever they need, whether the next steps or if they are having any issues with anywhere, like and one client say, well, the food's gone downhill since I moved in. So, okay. Have you joined the food committee? You can be a acting part in that and take, because me as a food and beverage director, I always listen to the residents, and they pretty much design my food program. I said, well, let your voice be heard. And I'll mention it to the director, and I'll try to see what I can do on that. But don't be shy. Let them know how it is. But yeah, the COVID, the protocols currently, no active tours. So what we've done is done virtual tours. We've Zoom meetings with the adult kids or the seniors, and the communities themselves can do a FaceTime with their iPads or iPhones, and you get a good idea. But nothing takes the place of that in-person feel
Right.
when you go into a community. Can I see my mom or dad here?
Right.
You know, but if it's an emergency situation where it has to be done, then yeah, those are the options that we have. And I just read today, somebody sent me an article saying that, because, you know, we've done quite a bit of consulting since this all started, you know, with difficult cases. Had another law attorney talked to me, had a COVID positive case in a hospital, and the hospitals are getting overran with these cases because nobody will accept a COVID positive case. So, you know, there's an article that came out today, and I don't know how accurate it is, and I'm not going to go out on any limbs here, saying that all the, you know, the Kansas nursing communities are encouraged to accept these COVID positive cases, whether they have to isolate them in a separate wing. And, you know, the area communities that have had outbreaks, you know, I'm going to send a kudos. I mean, that frontline business is hard. So I know that the communities are getting a rough rap right now, thinking, you know, it's because of their protocols or this and that. You know, who knows? I'm a firm believer that, you know, anybody coming in from the outside, whether it's another agency or any of these supportive services that come in, I mean, who knows? It's not the community's fault that this is happening. You know, in some cases it have been proven, and I'm not going to get into that, but Johnson County has been very good about total transparency, and you can get on YoKpod.gov and see the communities that have had some issues, but everybody's being totally transparent on it.
That's wonderful.
Which is a good thing, and I don't think all the counties are doing that yet, but you know, Johnson County is really working on that. And yeah, nothing against Douglas County. I love Douglas County too, and they might be starting that. But
let's hope.
You know, the frontline workers, you know, they've done a great job, and they are the heroes. And if you drive by these communities, you'll see those banners, and there's a lot of support out there, and everybody working together, and everybody wants the best for the region's seniors.
So I'll kind of shift topics. I mean, it's all the same, but just kind of a general question. What do you think our senior community needs now, and kind of same for the caregivers, and what can we do as community members ourselves to offer any support? You know, like the banners are great, but is there anything else that we can do? And a lot of people ask me, they're like, Mary, how can I volunteer? Is there anything that you can think of?
Well, there's a lot of communities that have done meals to staff, to existing staff. Like, you know, whether it's buying pizzas or, you know, whatever, Chick-fil-A or whatever, you can go curbside and get food. So, and, you know, that's one way that people can support each other. I mean, what you're doing, you know, you're an inspiration to all of us. You know, I'm just going to go out there and say that. I mean, the way you give back to the community, you know, with the COVID, I mean, you can't do anything in person and that kind of stuff, but you can definitely support, you know, everybody likes to eat, you know, go outside of the community and, you know, hang up banners for the residents or saying, we're thinking of you, type things like that, because they can look out the window. Yeah, I'm just hoping all this will be over soon. I know the protocols are probably here to stay for a while, and that's for good reason, to keep everybody safe. So, you know, keep thinking outside the box. You know, that, you know, I can't think of anything else specifically right now.
No, that's great.
Anything that can support the seniors and the staffs of the communities remotely would be fantastic.
For sure. So someone just told me that June is Alzheimer Awareness Month. Is that true? I don't know if you follow things like that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And speaking of, we're active members of the Alzheimer's Association and volunteers for the Walk Committee, which we did last year. And
so
we have
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, you know, we have our own team, and, you know, in honor of my dad, but we have a Senior Care Authority team, and, you know, anybody wants to look at that and be, you know, the walk is slated for October 4th right now, and there's no indications that it will not go on, but again, there's no guarantee that it will go on. But hopefully, I know Governor Kelly. We've got some protocols, phase 2, phase 3, starting in end of June, beginning of July. So it's hard to say how that's going to be. But the Alzheimer's Walk's on October 4th at Corporate Woods. It's on a Sunday morning. So again, if you're interested in that, go to Senior Care Authority Johnson County on Facebook, and it'll give you a good idea how you can contribute or be a part of our team. Because, like I said, we volunteer and do events throughout the year to support that. And Elaine and I both, and we had a great turnout last year, and everybody's real supportive.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we're part of the walk committee, and the Alzheimer's Association does a great job keeping everybody educated. They got caregiver support groups. I can't emphasize enough, if you are caring for a loved one with dementia, to get involved in a support group. It's great to bounce ideas off each other. Everybody have empathy of what each other's going through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we do a lot of presentations on living a healthy life with dementia, those beginning stages, and it's all the same things we should be doing no matter how old we are.
Right.
It's healthy lifestyles, keeping fit, doing your exercise, doing strength training. I talk about strength training a lot because I'm a big strength training advocate, as you all know, Mary. Maybe not the yoga, but I'm trying to intertwine the yoga into my routine.
One day a week. I heard it from your mouth, Don. I'm gonna ask Elaine.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Okay.
But the strength training with the squats and keeping your legs strong to to help alleviate slips and falls, and keeping your mind going with again, we do a lot of presentations on it, talking about we do the jumble every morning. We do Rummy Cube. I don't know if anybody's heard of that game. That's a great game. But just keep those games going, and do the things that you love to do that you have always done. And then we talk a lot about. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, are you doing any of those presentations online now via Zoom, or is that kind of on hold for a while?
Well, I've always present better in person,
right,
but yes, we have those options, and we've done a couple, for church groups and situations like that.
Sure.
But we'd be glad to present to anyone because we want to educate everyone, and we'd be glad to do if there's any requests that you come across.
Sure.
Love to talk about. We've talked about safety in the home. We've talked about those types of communities out there, how it differentiates them. We've talked about, caregiving for loved ones, some important things there. There's 5 fundamentals that we basically talk about on, about caregiving, and, take care of yourself.
Oops, Don, are you still there?
I lost you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. No problem.
Okay. I guess my AirPods are only good for 40 minutes. But the caregiving for loved ones, we talk about quite a bit. About make sure you accept support. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Caregiving for a person with dementia is not easy, whether you're a family member or a professional. You need the empathy of other people in that role. Actively empathize. Care starts with compassion and empathy. People with dementia are prone to becoming confused about their whereabouts and even the time frame they are living in. So empathize what that's like, and be a realistic caregiver, about what constitutes success during the progression of the disease. And does it progress for everyone? Sometimes it's reversed a little bit. It's never cured, but sometimes these symptoms can be reversed. And everyone has good and bad days, so accept that and try to your best to foster the good days and the good moments, and don't force them. But again, there's no cure. We've got 5 million in the U.S. It's going to be up to 50 million worldwide by the middle of the century.
Wow.
So everything that we can do now is, whether it's baby boomers or even younger, active lifestyle is the most important thing.
I certainly agree.
and plan for the future, because there may be a time where, home care is no longer an option. Families being at wit's end on, I've got my job, I've worked 50 hours a week, I can't do this. So seriously consider the senior communities, which is exactly what we do and how we can help. And, again, if you're able to get long-term care insurance, there's lots of ways to finance long-term care. VA aid and attendance. So if there's a spouse or a veteran in the picture, they're able to get some great benefits. Long-term care insurance is a great benefit as well. Folks save your money and kind of plan for that if that's ever needed. So that's that in a nutshell.
Okay, beautiful. Well, how can people reach out to you? What's the best way? Is it going to your website? And I'll put something up too.
Yeah. So our email address, let me give you that first, is
okay.
Don at seniorcareauthority.com.
Okay.
So Don at seniorcareauthority.com. And again, we service the entire Kansas City Metro, Topeka, and Lawrence.
And so that's
and then our
D-O-N.
D-O-N, just Don.
Okay.
Then our website is seniorcare-kansascity.com.
Okay. And I'll write those in the feed as well. I have one. Oh, go ahead. Is there another way?
Just phone number is 913-488-8609.
I love how you're willing to put that out there. Great.
24/7. Yep. So
okay.
whatever you need.
Beautiful.
And I also have another partner that's got my North Kansas City area. Her name is Eva Gavin, and she's a fantastic gal. So we're partners here in the Kansas City area, and she takes care of the North, while I take care of the South and West.
Helpful to have a good partner. It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Well, my final question for you, just making it a little bit lighter, keeping it positive. Is there anything positive you can think of to say to our listeners, something beautiful you've discovered these past few months?
My work dynamic has changed dramatically a few months. I love the outdoors anyway, but the biggest thing I would say is nurture your spirit. And things that make you feel good. Express yourself, find your purpose. These are troubled times where, we've never experienced anything like this. So reach inside yourself and be the best person you can be and work on the things, your areas of opportunity. It's a good opportunity to do that. And we'll be back to normal one of these days. I know we will. And follow the precautions out there. It's just, whether you believe in masks or not, do it for the respect of other folks. That's just, follow the protocols, spend time in nature, get out and increase your exercise game, whether it's walking or running or, eat real food, don't eat processed stuff. Those are all important to us, and they always have been, but especially in this time, it's really made us reach in and, think about what's important and show gratitude, be grateful for what you have and, look for ways to help others.
That's beautiful, Don. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for taking the time to talk with us and for your advocacy for our senior community. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you again.
You bet. Thank you so much, Mary, for inviting me.
Of course. Take care. Bye-bye. You can contact Don by emailing him at don@seniorcareauthority.com. Thank you for taking the time to listen to YoKpod, and if you enjoyed your time with us, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We hope you will join YoK in our mission in a movement to spread a ripple of kindness.
you.